Hi everybody and welcome to Out of the Gate, Daily Racing Form's weekend handicapping preview program. I'm Dan Illman. Thanks so much for watching. Here's what's coming up in the Preakness Stakes edition of Out of the Gate. Daily Racing Form handicappers Mike Beer, Matt Bernier, and I will discuss the second jewel in racing's Triple Crown, the Grade 1 Preakness Stakes, as well as the three other graded stakes races on Saturday's card at Pimlico, the Dixie on the turf, the Gallarette for fillies and mares on the turf, and the Maryland Sprint Stakes for dirt sprinters. JK's play of the day focuses on the Preakness Pick 6. We're also going to have JK pinch hit for Peter Thomas Fornatell in the Tournament Talk segment. Our pedigree pick with Nicole Russo and Joe Nevels. They're going to take a look at the new shooters in this year's Preakness, and Marcus Hirsch, DRF's Maryland analyst, will have his take on the Preakness Day card. All this and lots more, so let's break Out of the Gate. We begin Out of the Gate with, of course, our hot topic, which is the Grade 1 Preakness Stakes, the second jewel in racing's Triple Crown. Let's throw up the field. 7 will challenge Justify as he looks to make it 2 in a row in the Big 3 and head to Belmont in 3 weeks' time with a chance at the hallowed Triple Crown. You can access free Formulator Pass performances for the Preakness or the Race of the Day event page on drf.com, and for expanded stakes previews of all the stakes races at Pimlico on Friday and Saturday, visit video.drf.com or the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. We talk about every horse in every race in great detail. Mike, the story in the race is, of course, the 1-2 morning line favorite Justify. A lot of folks believe that Good Magic, second to Justify in the Derby's got the best chance of upending him at Pimlico.
Yeah, that's an easy position to take considering what happened 2 weeks ago in Kentucky. Good Magic, obviously the 2-year-old champion. It does sort of feel like now in retrospect that this was sort of a plan from Chad Brown all along. His first start of the year wasn't a great effort from him. He wasn't very sharp in the Fountain of Youth, but he's come forward since then. This is his second start of the year. We'll take a look at now the Bluegrass. A nice little step forward for Good Magic here. He does what he has to do here and gets to win. Improving upon his seasonal debut. And then he went to Kentucky 2 weeks ago. I thought he ran a terrific race in the Derby, close to a fast pace. He really took a shot at Justify the top of the stretch. Just no match for that horse. I do feel like if Justify loses, Good Magic will be the horse that beats him on Saturday. I don't know if that's actually going to happen. In a lot of ways, maybe he just needs Justify to regress a little bit if he's going to catch him.
Matt, a horse that didn't have to deal with all that stress at Churchill Downs, 19 other horses, a wet track, Justify, etc., is Quip, one of the new shooters, a horse that showed his quality off the layoff in the Tampa Bay Derby. What happened last time?
Well, I have to be honest, I don't think there was any excuse. We're going to look at the Arkansas Derby right now. I thought he ran just fine, all things considered, but he was no match for Magnum Moon. Magnum Moon's out there on the front right now. It's a little bit surprising that Quip actually digs in to finish second in this spot because it looks like he could easily finish 5th or 6th here, but I suppose you want to give him some bonus points for that. You have to keep in mind, he qualified for the Kentucky Derby, and they said that he needed some more time, so they bypassed the first Saturday in May for this race here coming up on Saturday. Unfortunately for the connections, I just don't think this horse is fast enough right now to run with the likes of Justify and Good Magic.
Justify, wave the horse to beat, Mike. You picked him in the Derby 2 weeks ago. You're not getting off the train.
Yeah, I'm not going to go against him. I mean, I sort of feel like if he loses, I think there's a real chance that a regression comes for this horse at some point. And if it does, it could bring Good Magic a little closer to him. But I'm not going to go against him on Saturday. I just think he's the best horse. He's run 4 triple-digit buyers. Of course, his coming out party in some ways, I mean, everybody knew he was a good horse already, but here's the Santa Anita Derby, the Grade 1. He just went right to the front in this race. He got control of the pace. Good horse, Bolt Oro, took a couple different runs at him. He's not letting Bolt Oro into this race. So this was sort of the race that stamped him as a real contender in the Derby. And then he went to Kentucky and he just ran a terrific race on a fast pace, not letting that field into the race. And obviously, this Preakness doesn't come up, in my opinion anyway, it doesn't come up nearly as strong as the Derby did.
When was the last time we had an Omnifig in a Triple Crown race? This horse has 4 races. All 4 of them are faster than anything else anyone in the field has run. Look, I tried to go against him in Kentucky. I would still try to go against him in Kentucky. Here in this spot, though, I just think he's way the horse to beat. I have no interest in trying to beat Justify.
I'm with you guys. I'll make it a complete consensus best play, I guess you would say. Justify 1-2 on the morning line. You're not going to get a lot of value, but remember, this is the anchor leg of a $2 million guaranteed pick 4 pool. To me, he would be a single. He's got a lot of big speed. He's already handled the wet track. I'm not concerned about the foot issues. We think Justify is going to win the Preakness. We think he's going to go on to Belmont in 3 weeks and try to become the first Triple Crown winner since American Pharaoh. We'll see if Nicole Russo and Joe Nevels believe that one of the new shooters has the pedigree to take Justify down in the Preakness in their pedigree pick segment from DRF's Breeding Report. Peter Thomas Fornatel, he's getting pinch hit for this week by Jonathan Kinchin, who's going to talk about all the latest news and notes in tourney. Then we're going to come back and talk about the Dixie Stakes on turf.
Hey everyone, Nicole Russo and Joe Nevels coming to you for DRF TV Preakness Stakes Week. All eyes on unbeaten Justify as the Kentucky Derby winner attempts to take the next step at Pimlico. Derby runner-up Good Magic will lead the contingent of those back for another shot at him. But of course, the Preakness always draws fresh horses to challenge those on the 2-week turnaround. We're going to take a look at a couple of those who have got graded stakes form already on their resumes. We'll start with Quip, who races as a homebred for Windstar Farm, which co-owns Justify. The son of Distorted Humor won the Tampa Bay Derby, then ran well to finish on the board in the Arkansas Derby, has specifically pointed for this race since bypassing the Kentucky Derby, even though he probably had the points to make the field. He's a son of Windstar stallion Distorted Humor, the sire of Kentucky Derby and Preakness winner Funny Side, as well as Belmont and Breeders' Cup Classic winner Drosselmeyer, so already a multiple classic sire. Quip's Dam, a half-sister to Grade 1 placed Normandy Invasion, who set a track record going a mile at Gulfstream. Quip's pedigree kind of strikes me as a middle distance one. The Preakness maybe on the outside edge of his scope at a mile and 3/16.
Yeah, but there's certainly form in the past, especially on the sire side, to prove that it can be done. Beyond Funny Side, your Derby and Preakness winner in 2003, you have 2010 Belmont winner and 2011 Classic winner Drosselmeyer, Traverse winner Flower Alley, Haskell winner Any Given Saturday. Going into the older division, you have the 2-time Whitney winner Commentator, good turf runner Boisterous. It's definitely in there. And another promising thing is that Distorted Humor is one of the sires that has proven that he can do it before. He, with Funny Side in 2003, Awesome Again, sire of Bravazzo, had Oxbow in 2013, and Curlin, the sire of Preakness contender Good Magic, had Exaggerator in 2016. So you like to see that. There's always, if nothing else, there's that little bit of hope that the stallion has done it in the past.
Distorted Humor, certainly so much form, as you said, and Flower Alley, one of those going on to become a classic sire himself. So he certainly balances out what strikes me as more of a middle distance pedigree on the Dam side. Like I said, the Preakness may be at the edge of his scope. Now, Sporting Chance won the Grade 1 Hopeful last summer at Saratoga. Now, hasn't won since the Hopeful, but did finish third in the Southwest over the winter. Most recently was fourth in the Pat Day Mile on that muddy track on Derby Day. So he's also facing the 2-week turnaround. He's by 2-time Breeders' Cup Classic winner Tiz Now, also a Windstar stallion, has been such a high-end stallion for that operation for so long. Has 2008 upset Belmont Stakes winner Ditara on his resume. Sporting Chance's Dam was a multiple stakes winner at up to a mile and a 16th and was Grade 1 placed at a mile and a quarter.
On the page, Sporting Chance has just about anything you would want to see in a classic horse. Tiz Now, of course, Horse of the Year in 2000, won the Breeders' Cup Classic a couple of times, and only one of his 15 starts came at a distance shorter than a mile and a 16th. You love to see that. His foals have done just about everything. As you mentioned, he's got a Belmont Stakes winner. We've got champion Folklore under Tiz Now, Canadian champion Bear Now, Dubai World Cup winner Well Armed, Breeders' Cup Mile winner Tourist, Traverse winner Colonel John, Bluegrass Stakes winner IRAP. I can keep going with this. And winning ride, as you said, Grade 1 place at a mile and a quarter. Can't argue with that. Stakes winner at a mile and a 16th. The big question with Sporting Chance is going to be, the page is great. What's going on up here? This horse has found had a nose for finding trouble. He's had troubles, working out in the mornings. He had that recent refusal. So we're just going to have to see how he breaks from the gates, and if he can run in a straight line, everything on the page says go. We just have to have that horse live up to it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely something to watch with Sporting Chance on Saturday. So Quip and Sporting Chance, both graded stakes winners, among the more accomplished newcomers in the cast expected to line up for the Preakness Stakes. We'll have much more coverage of the second jewel in the Triple Crown and the supporting stakes coming up for you on DRF TV.
Hey everybody, JK checking in here for Pete Fornatel for Tournament Talk. He's on his way out here. We're going to be at Santa Anita this weekend for the World Horse Players Tour inaugural event. $5,000 live bankroll contest. Normal rules on Saturday. Got to bet 5 races, $1,000 each. The top 8 from Saturday will advance to Sunday to be on the TV show pilot at the final table, the final 8. Those players, their bankroll from Saturday will then convert to mythical money, and that mythical tournament will then be a win-only, 1 horse per race with minimum blinds escalating just like a poker tournament. Really excited about the opportunity to be out here and to get this show on the road. If you're around, come by and see us. If you're not, keep an eye out for Twitter for updates. Should be a ton of fun. In the meantime, DRF tournaments, a lot of action going on for the Preakness contest, the Preakness Day. There's Belmont has a $410 1 in 30 competition to qualify for the Belmont contest on Saturday. And then also Del Mar, there's a $495 contest, 1 in 20, leading into Del Mar's challenge coming up this summer. Lots of matchup options. Also the feeders into Monmouth and Saratoga are available. So make sure you check those out at DRF tournaments. Get involved with some of the Preakness action going on. We look forward to seeing you guys. Take care.
You asked, we listened. DRF Plus has more flexible subscription options. Use DRF Plus Basic for exclusive news and analysis, including our DRF Live real-time news feed. Or go deeper with DRF Pro and unlock buyers, closer looks, picks, and reports, including the DRF Daily Game Plan. DRF TV viewers get 50% off the plan of your choice. Use code DRFTV50 at checkout. Learn more about the DRF Plus subscription plans at drf.com/plus.
Welcome back to Out of the Gate. Let's take a look at the field for the Grade 2 Dixie Stakes at 1 1/16 on the turf, featuring last year's turf champion, World Approval. The number 7 not only won the Eclipse Award last year, he won the Dixie over a good turf course. And Mike, this horse likes a wet turf course, and boy, is he going to get it on Saturday.
Yeah, it seems like there has to be a soft turf issue for this horse on Saturday. I guess you're right, he does kind of like that. So you don't worry about the ground condition with him. I think what you worry about with World Approval is, is he the same horse that he was last year? He put together a great campaign last year. There's nothing to knock about it. I don't know, his 2 starts this year don't seem to do that much for me. We'll look at the first one, the Tampa race, the Tampa Bay Stakes, the Grade 3. I mean, this was almost a race that felt like he couldn't really lose. He got it done in here. I wasn't blown away with it, but as a starting off point, I thought it was fine. It's his next start, the Grade 1 Kilrow, that you have to be really concerned about. To me, that was just not a good performance. He didn't look anything like the same horse that he was last year in the Kilrow last time. And to me, that just makes him a pretty difficult horse to take a short price on Saturday.
Matt, the number 1 Fire Away goes out for the great Shug McGahee. This horse really likes Aqueduct, and he scored in the Danger's Hour after finishing 3rd in the Tampa Bay Stakes. You think he's got a big shot to upend World Approval?
Well, I think it's more, Matt. I don't want World in here on the heel of that Kilrow. Nothing on right for him, and I have no idea the outside horse Arrow can even run. Or I think they're away talking about that most but Aqueduct race. Take a look at that. Right, thought he ran just nothing spectacular. The likes of in Motown, unfortunately, retired. I think he's a horse, and I think it's really, for me, more than at this point in the stage, he's the horse with urgency as opposed to the 2 where they are all from a form standpoint.
Yeah, that's exactly the way I looked at the race too. I like the fact for Fire Away anyway that it does feel like he's one of those typical shug horses. He's getting better with racing, and I just like that he's in a position here where he's probably going to be fourth choice in this race against some horses with some real question marks. The other thing I think that you like about Fire Away is I know he's kind of an aqueduct horse. He doesn't mind a little cut in the ground either. This horse, and that's going to help this horse on Saturday.
Like you guys, I'm kind of against world approval in this race, but I'm going to try to beat him with a horse that I think is a bit upwardly mobile, and that's the number 4 Frostmorn, another horse that doesn't mind a little bit of cut in the ground. This is a horse, we're going to go back to his seasonal debut at Gulfstream, and I thought this was a nice starting off point. There wasn't a lot of pace in this race. He did get a great trip, but I like the way he finished the race off. And after this race, Christophe Clement shipped him to Keeneland for the Makers 46 mile, a race in which Heart to Heart just wired him, and Frostmorn turned into the stretch with a look at it, actually poked his head into second at about the 8th pole before flattening out. I wonder if he's slowly starting to get back to his best form. This will be his 3rd race of the cycle. I like his tactical speed. Like Matt and Mike, I'm against world approval at a short price, and I think Frostmorn might have the most upside. He is 9-2 on the morning line. Justify, of course, is the big story all weekend long. Wayne Lukas, though, he knows what it's like to win the Preakness. He's got 2 going in against Justify, and he talked to the media earlier this week about his chances.
How was the trip for both of the horses?
Very good. It was really good. You always worry a little bit about getting hot and everything. They didn't get hot. They were perfectly comfortable. It was really an easy trip. That van is a full box stall, so they're not tied up in there. They can move around and eat and drink, and so we find it to be very, very easy for them to come here.
Looking at Bravazzo, he's coming out of the Kentucky Derby. How did he come out of his last race?
He very well, and I really think he'll move forward. He didn't get much out of the Louisiana Derby, so I think he's going to move forward off the Kentucky Derby, which is what you want. You want a tough horse here. You got to have a tough one. He's tough.
Now, you tried Sporting Chance going in the Pat Day Mile. What made you want to stretch him out again?
Well, he should have won it. He got in real trouble at the half-mile pole. He got hit hard and lost all his momentum and then came running. I think he merits a chance here. He could be a very big surprise here for you. He's a very good horse. He's a quality horse with a lot of ability, and he deserves a chance.
How much does Oxbow a few years ago finishing 6th in the Derby, coming back here and winning, inspire a 6th place finish at the Derby this year with Bravazzo?
Well, people have drawn that comparison, but that's happened a couple times with me. I think Tank's Prospect was 5th or 6th when he came in here and won it. So it's a different deal. It's a different race, and you got to really be impressed with Justify in the Derby. I was really impressed. Bob did a tremendous job with him, and yet you can't mail it in. You got to go over here, and we'll keep it honest. We don't want anybody to just walk over, and we're not going to engrave the trophy yet. We got to at least make it difficult for him, even though he's probably going to get it. But I think that we're going into it a little bit better. And we brought Oxbow in here. We were a little bit better, and it doesn't take but a great trip to get it done.
You have 2 horses. What would you like to see from each of them heading into this race?
I'd like to see them well placed up front. But that's everybody here this week's going to tell you they want to be well placed into the first turn. Everybody wants to lay 2, 3. We'll all lie to you all week, and what'll happen is the race will unfold, and most of that won't happen. Everybody can't be 2nd or 3rd into the first turn, so we'll all try that and think about it. And the reality of it is, I always say people have opinions, horses have the facts. They'll determine where they're going to be.
Speaking about some of the limits, this week's weather conditions, how do you feel like the horses will run in the wet conditions that we have coming up on Saturday?
If it is wet, it'll change some of them. I don't think it'll change mine too much. They both ran very well in the off-going before. It'll change the race, though. It always does. And some of them will adapt to it, some of them won't. But I feel comfortable on my 2 that it'll be okay.
We're happy to have you back at the Preakness. Will you reflect back on maybe some of your past Preakness memories?
Well, they're all good. Everybody that's ever come here has had a great experience. Even if you run last year, it's a great experience. This is the best. Just like I said, if we ever got somebody to help us unload our equipment at Churchill, I'd fall over. So it's really wonderful, the hospitality here. So we enjoy it. I know Bob Baffert and I were talking the other day about the hospitality and getting together here, and it's just a different deal. There's a little bit less pressure. If you're going to win the Triple Crown, it's always a good idea to win the first one. But he's in that position. We'll just try to pick up the pieces and do the best we can. But this is the place to be if you want to really enjoy a part of the Triple Crown series. This is the one.
Let's take a look at the field for race number 10 at Pimlico on Preakness Saturday. It's the Grade 3 Maryland Sprint Stakes. It kicks off the $2 million guaranteed 50-cent Pick 4, which of course culminates in the Preakness. For expanded stakes previews of all the stakes races at Pimlico on Friday and Saturday, visit video.drf.com or the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. Matt, the number 4, Lewisfield, 7-2 on the morning line. He's one of the local hopes this weekend at Pimlico. He is a really gritty horse. Is he good enough to step up against the graded stakes ranks?
I don't think he's good enough to win here, but he's a gutsy little horse. We're going to take a look at his most recent start in a Maryland state-bred stakes race, the Not for Love. You see him on the front. He's down on the inside. He's game, but there's a big difference between turning away a Maryland bred out on the front end and dealing with some of the better, more quality speed he'll have to deal with on Saturday afternoon. Hard to knock him, but at the same time, hard to love him in a spot like this.
Mike, there's a lot of gas in this race as we see Lewisfield finish off that field. Lewisfield could be one of the speeds. It would set things up for a stalker or a closer, you might believe, and you can argue that the best stalker or closer in the race belongs to Chad Brown. That's morning line favorite Long Haul Bay.
Yeah, that's one of the things I think to really like about this horse. There feels like there's 3 or 4 speeds clustered to the middle of this field. Horses that probably are going to go out there and hook each other up early. I think that helps a horse like Long Haul Bay. Not that he doesn't have some questions to answer. The sloppy track, I guess, would be the main one for him. It's going to be wet out there. He's never run over a surface like that. We'll see if it affects him, because if it doesn't, I just feel like this is a great spot for this horse. He's very lightly raced. We have a replay here of his most recent start. This is off of a pretty long layoff here at Aqueduct. And listen, this is against New York bred allowance horses. It wasn't the toughest spot in the world for him, but I just love the race that he ran considering the long layoff. He ran right by this field in the stretch. I love the way he finishes this race off. It's a big new buyer top for this horse with a 98, and this horse had plenty of potential last year as a 3-year-old, a graded stakes winner as a 3-year-old early on in his career. I just think he's good. I think this is a good spot for him.
Could get the right setup. It's all about whether he handles that wet track or not. Now, Chad used to have Switzerland, Matt, and boy, Switzerland couldn't get out of his own way for the most part when he was with Chad, but he's on a 3-race win streak. His last 2 wins coming for Steve Asmussen. Maybe the light bulb's finally gone up.
Yeah, we're going to look at the most recent run. Look, he's just rock solid right now. Asmussen has him in raging form, and it's one of those things. Maybe he's just the definition of a horse that the light bulb, once it went on, it stayed on in a big way. Highest last out buyer in the field with a 100. Visually very impressive. I just kind of feel like there's a scenario where if he can sit off of a target, he's going to be very, very tough. Now, that's a big what if. There's a scenario where he absolutely needs the lead. And if that's the case, he's going to be in deep water. But I think he can sit a little bit, and I think he's got a little bit of finish.
I agree with you. It's hard to be neutral on Switzerland after watching his most recent performances. And yes, maybe he's been on the lead. Maybe the pace scenario will be a little bit fast. But I like the fact that the 2 big speeds, Red Dragon Tattoo, the 4 Lewisfield, they're inside of Switzerland. I think Switzerland's going to take back just a little bit, sit in third, try to get the jump on Long Haul Bay into the stretch and hold that one off late, hoping Switzerland can win one more time for Steve Asmussen, who's had some luck in the Maryland Sprint in the past. JK's play of the day, he's got pick 6 action at Pimlico. And then, of course, we've got Marcus Hirsch, Daily Racing Form's Maryland analyst. He's got a lot to talk about many of the major races on the Preakness card. And then we'll come back for the Gallery.
Hey everybody, welcome to JK's Play of the Day, checking in from the Eddie Logan Suite at Santa Anita, California. Yeah, I understand it's the second leg of the Triple Crown. Everyone's out at Pimlico for the Preakness. I'm going to enjoy these mountains and this sunshine, but we're still going to get involved. We're going to play the pick 6. It's going to start in race 8, the 3-year-old $200,000 sprint race to Chick Lang. There's a horse in here with huge figures, looks to be a standout, and that's the Steve Asmussen trainee, the 5, Matoli. Now, here's the thing about Matoli. If you look at all of his races, his lowest figure and his worst performance out of the last 4 performances was in the slop. Clearly going to be in the slop here again. I think he's good enough to get the job done. I'm going to single him as an A horse. However, I am going to use 3 other horses as B horses. I'm going to use Runaway from California, Curly's Rocket, and Old Time Revival. You'll remember him, the Runaway runoff horse in the Wood Memorial. Those 3 horses are going to present some value. I want to make sure that I have Matoli as an A horse just in case he happens to get the job done. He is the most talented of all of them. We'll go on to the Gallarette. I'm going to use 2 A horses, the 5, Cambodia. There's not a lot to say about her. She's a talented filly. You've seen her in the Breeders' Cup, and I think that she'll be tough in here. Alicia's World is another one that I think could be tough here for Chad Brown. I'm going to just take those 2. Hope I can get by here. I'm going to do some little savers on the 3 and the 4, Ultra Brat and Stallion Heiress, and then on to race 10. The Maryland Sprint. There's only 2 horses I need here. I'm going to use Switzerland, used to be in the Chad Brown barn, now in the Asmussen barn. The horse is going in the right direction. The most talented, has the fastest numbers in here. And then I'm also going to use the horse that's still in the Chad Brown barn, Long Haul Bay. Not a lot of creativity here. I think those 2 are the most likely winners. They stand out to me in this spot. There's no reason to waste combinations hoping for a long shot. Then on to race 11. It's the turf sprint, the very one. Obviously, what happens with the weather is going to be tricky, but you got to predict that it's going to stay on. From what I've heard, the stakes are going to try to keep those on. I'm going to use the 7, the 11, and the 12. The 7 Girl Knows Best for Eddie Keneally, had the good race down at Keeneland with a kind of a big figure. The 11 Smiling Causeway, the 12 Just Talking, I think is live as well. And then I'm going to use the 13 as a B horse. A little bit of a long shot, 20-1 morning line. The last race was pretty impressive at Laurel. The trainer changed, but I think that horse could be a little bit tough and a little bit sneaky at a price here, so I'm going to use the 13 as a B horse. Going on to race 12, I need 1 horse as an A horse. I actually picked this horse in our Kentucky Derby, our Triple Crown fantasy draft on the podcast. I thought there's a chance he would show up in the Preakness. We've got Justifying the Preakness. Axeman will have to settle for the Surbaton. I think that he's going to be a super live right here. I'm going to single him as an A horse, and then I'm going to use Title Ready as a B horse, the 11 horse. And then we're going to go on to the big horse, into the Preakness. I don't see why he won't get the job done. I know there was some speculation of how he was doing. I think he's doing just fine from all accounts, from how he's been galloping. I think that he's going to get the conditions he likes. Hopefully he can run a little bit slower early in this race, but I think the Justify is going to be tough, and he's going to be my ice-cold single in the 13th. Good luck. We'll see you next week.
Marcus Hirsch, correspondent and handicapper for the Daily Racing Form, talking to you about Preakness card at Pimlico on Saturday. I actually have been doing the Maryland circuit analysis for the Daily Racing Form since January, and I actually feel like I'm getting up to speed on the circuit a little bit, and hopefully we'll be able to put a little bit of that superficial knowledge into play this weekend. Obviously, the story of the weekend, beyond Justify trying to win the middle jewel of the Triple Crown, is the weather. Tons of rain. Well, if you aggregate it, probably is tons. Inches of rain on the measuring stick. Very, very wet. Almost certain. The course is going to have taken a lot of rain. It's got to be soft if the forecast holds Saturday. And I'll start with talking about a race that's for turf. The Grade 2 $50,000 DC 7 on the Preakness cards, one of the first of the stakes race in the sequence, and the defined favorite is going to be World. The winner of this race last and the champion turf were older male 2017. He had an excellent season. Fine in Tampa Bay Stakes, his comeback race that was for the prep for Dubai. They decided not to go to Dubai, instead went to the Kilroe Mile, just a very flat 5th from world approval. He didn't miss really much time. He was breezing again shortly thereafter, but the position I'm taking, why I'm interested in this race, is I want him to show me that he's going to be the same horse again this year. He really obviously hit a new peak during that great run he had the second part of last year when he was turned back in distance to these mile-ish kind of trips. And maybe he can get back there again. I'm rooting for him. I'm a fan of the horse. I hope he does well. But he's 6, and when these horses get good for a while, what goes up usually comes down before too long. And I just think that the betting public may be lagging a bit in really acknowledging that there's a decent potential he's not the same this year as last year. I've never been a huge Frostmorn fan, but I've always respected him. I just think that he could offer a little bit of value in this race. He was 5th in the Makers 46 mile, which was his first big target of the year after a solid allowance comeback at Gulfstream. But he was beaten just about 3/4 of a length for second. They were all lapped on each other behind the standout winner of that race, Heart to Heart. If he'd finished second instead of 5th, I think you lose. I mean, he's a 1.5 shorter than the odds or some such. He got back to work quickly. He's had 3 breezes. He still should be coming forward, making just the 3rd start of his 4-year-old season, and the returns are pretty favorable for that horse on turf with some give to it. So we're trying to get Frostmore home first in the Dixie as one of the more major plays that I would make on Saturday. Obviously, the conditions are going to be something we're going to need to monitor going forward. But there's a low takeout on the pick 5. There's a pick 5 ending on the Preakness, so that's races 9 through 13. I will be getting involved with that wager for sure. I think starting from the back end of that play, I don't see Justify as a slam dunk in this race. He obviously he's the best horse, most talented horse. I just think under potentially extreme conditions with the track, and DRS Jay Privman made some great points in his race preview for the Preakness about the potential for this being more of a muddy track than the kind of sloppy track he ran on at Churchill, and how that could compromise his brilliance. And those are kind of the lines along which I was thinking as well. In addition to the fact that the horse just made his first start ever on February 18th. He has got a lot of racing in a short amount of time. And my strategy in just any situation like this would be to try to beat an odds-on favorite who had these characteristics. And I'm not going to change my point of view just because it's a high-profile race. I'll be using the horse in the pick 5 because, if I manage to get through the first 4 legs, I want to be alive to him because I'm not discounting his chances. Just to run through that sequence as rapidly as I can. The Galloret, I think it's going to be bad as a 2-horse race. And LSA's World taking the bulk of the betting there. Cambodia got really good last year. I think that it's important to note that her rise coincided with her move to Del Mar, which is kind of a particular course. She was decent in the Jenny Wiley, her first start back for a 6-year-old year, and she won this race by 2 lengths last season over a course that had some give to it. It was called Good, maybe softer than Good. But I don't think that she has to win by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, of the 2 favorites, I'd give a slight edge to LSA's World. I think she might cope with the going a little bit better and just be in a slightly better spot right now. But the other horse I'm using in the race is a much longer price, Blessed Silence, number 6, second time in North America for trainer Christophe Clement. The best race she ran all of last year was on soft ground, albeit a straight course at Deauville, but she has proven time and again she has no problem getting over soft turf. I guess you could question whether she really wants to go quite this far, but the fact that she successfully negotiated a mile overseas suggests that a mile and 16th is going to be within her scope. And if she could manage to win the Galloret, I think it would make the entire bet. I'm hoping that she can. The Maryland Sprint, real quick here. I've seen the first race now on Thursday. We'll see how things progress. There was a distinct outside bias during week 1 of Pimlico, even after it rained on Sunday when it was a wet track. The inside speed horses had almost no chance. And even though the horse that was on the pace in the first race Thursday won, the jockey kept the horse well off the rail. We'll see how things progress. The way I'm guessing is that it's going to be somewhat similar. I don't think that horses are going to be able to duel inside and take pressure and be down near the fence and survive. I think that this race flow will go accordingly. I'm definitely using Long Haul Bay here, who's the favorite, who I think is going to get the right setup and has a lot of upside second start of this 4-year-old year. Switzerland is kind of a changed horse. Those are the 2 top plays. I give a little shout to Fellowship, who probably can't get up at 6 furlongs, but should be running late. The very one, the turf sprint, I feel like there could be a number of scratches in this race because it looks like a lot of horses are entered hoping for dirt, and racing officials are saying they plan to keep this on turf. We'll have to see how that all shakes out. For me, there are two horses that kind of stand out. Girls Know Best is 3-1 on the line. She's really come to hand since being claimed and switched to turf, and you can't speak highly enough of the race she ran at Keeneland over a course that was called Yielding. I don't know how wet that was, but it definitely wasn't like the Gulfstream course, and the fact she performed so well with some more give to the ground is something that I think is really important going into this race. She's got some pace issues potentially, but I think she can work out a trip while staying in the clear. I think she's going to run well. She's an A for me, as is number 8, who is going to be a longer price. She didn't have much of a 2017 campaign, but her 2016 form in France was outstanding. I mean, she was second on good to soft ground in a Group 2. Seems to excel when there's cut in the ground, and that's another horse. As with the Gallarette, if this horse can win, it's going to make the whole sequence. She's an A for me. I also have Float Around underneath in the pick 4, especially, which I'm also going to play races 10 through 13. We can get a little more coverage in a race that does have some potential for chaos, I think, and which I'll also be favoring closers. Sir Barton, race 12. I'm narrowing things down here, particularly in the pick 5 in comparison to the pick 4. I like both Steve Asmussen trained horses, although I prefer Dream Baby Dream, who I think is going to get the better part of the race flow here. I expect to improve off the Arkansas Derby, obviously taking a step down in class. Just his third start with blinkers. He's a good work pattern since the Arkansas Derby. I feel like he's been pointed to the spot, and he probably will be the longer price of the duo, but certainly with Santana named and Jose Ortiz riding Title Ready, who I think will be shorter than 5-1 from post 11. He really looked like a good thing in the Northern Spur and was disappointing. I'm not sure exactly what happened there. He drew the rail 2 times in a row as a better outside draw. He's another A for me. I mean, I'm fooling around with some C's here with the idea that if those two don't win, kind of anything could happen. And I'm taking a stand against the 8-5 borderline favorite Axeman, who won going a mile at Santa Anita. I think this is going to be a completely different challenge for him, going an extra 16th of a mile on a more demanding surface with other speed. If he wins the race, I might be alive, I think, for one pick 4, but I think he'll be dead in the pick 5. You get to the big event, the Preakness. I mean, I've already taken some mocking for picking Lone Sailor on top, but I mean, it was first choice odds on Justify or a very strong second choice Good Magic, and I feel like Lone Sailor is going to run a good race. He's obviously, the question is he good enough to win? Probably not if the top 2 run their very best, but he did have trouble in the Kentucky Derby. He seems to excel on wet tracks. And again, as far as the way the track was playing when it was wet last weekend, if it's similar on Saturday, I think he's going to get exactly the right trip. I'm not taking a huge stand with him. I think Good Magic could pull the upset, a minor upset, and I think Justify stands a very good chance of running his race again and winning. I want to be alive to all of those. In the pick 4, I used a little bit of Tenfold as well, who I think has plenty of upside, probably more capable than his Arkansas Derby suggests for trainer Steve Asmussen. If I can get alive to any one of those 4 horses at the end of the pick 5 especially, it might be a good day. Hope you have one too. Happy Preakness and enjoy the card. Back to Dan Illman.
Welcome back to Out of the Gate. Let's take a look at the field for race number 9 at Pimlico on Preakness Saturday. The Grade 3 Gallarette Stakes kicking off a $1 million guaranteed 50-cent pick 5 for expanded stakes previews of all the stakes at Pimlico on Friday and Saturday. Visit video.drf.com or the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. Mike Cambodia won this race last year, good enough to finish 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf and get some class relief. I thought this horse had a good trip last time out, and I have to admit, it seemed a little bit flat in the stretch.
Yeah, it wasn't her best performance, although it was in the Jenny Wiley. That was a much tougher field than the one she's going to face on Saturday. But I'm with you. She had a good trip in that race, had her shot at it, wasn't even close to good enough on that day. Now she's second off the layoff. listen, she had a really good year last year. They were very smart with her, I thought, getting her out to Southern California to face, the sort of the weaker filly and mare turf division out there. And she did some good things. The Breeders' Cup obviously was sort of the defining moment for her. She ran a good third in this race, the Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf last year. Another race where she got a good trip. She did her best with it. She brought home a big check in this race. A nice performance for Cambodia. I suppose she is the horse to beat in this race, Dan. I'm just, not a huge fan of hers. Not a horse that I'm terrified to bet against at a short price.
I think we're both kind of against Elysia's World and Cambodia, two of the shorter priced horses in the race. And I know that Matt agrees. The number 6, Blessed Silence, Matt, is a horse that's got extensive experience on wet turf courses in Europe. And she can only move forward off her North American debut, right?
No, you better hope so, because she didn't pick up. We're going to take a look at that race back at Aqueduct right now. Really, I know it was a short field, and Inflexibility is a nice horse, but this was a disappointing effort. She was headstrong early on and keen. She didn't really settle for a little while. The good news is she's proven over soft and yield going over in Europe, so you're going to have to hope that you get some real sort of sogginess on the turf course on Saturday afternoon, and it plays into her hooves, because an effort like this, it's not good enough. I'm banking on the wet turf.
Yeah, I picked the same horse, Matt did, for a lot of the same reasons. I'm not maybe as down on the Aqueduct race as Matt is. It was a 4-horse field. They didn't really go a good pace in front of her. It looked like she was actually going to get second at the end, and then she just couldn't quite get up there. But Inflexibility is a pretty nice mare. I'll just take her. I don't really love the favorites in this race. She's going to be a square price in here. I do think she can step forward in this spot.
I want the speed in this race. I was leaning towards the 4 Stallion Heiress, but I'm not sure if she's going to run here. She's entered in the Politely Stakes at Monmouth this weekend, where she's going to be a big favorite, and early indications are she might run there. If she runs here, I'm certainly going to use her. But if she scratches as expected, I'm going to take Shug McGahee's runner, the number 7 Special Event, who made a nice impression in her turf debut most recently at Laurel. Let's go back to that race right now. And yes, Special Event did make a nice, easy early lead in this race, but I like the way she finishes it off. She seems to handle the turf just fine, and that's no surprise considering she's a daughter of Arch out of a half-sister to Brahms, who won the Hollywood Derby and was okay on off turf as well. I think Special Event can make the lead, and I like the fact that Shug's getting a little bit aggressive here, wheeling this horse back on only 15 days rest. She's going to be a big price in this spot, and I think she might be able to steal away to a nice easy lead in a race where I'm not thrilled with the favorites. I'll go with Special Event in the Galleret. We thank you for watching Out of the Gate this week, and we urge you to follow DRF all weekend long on social media. On Twitter, follow all the latest DRF video offerings. Where else? At DRF Video. That's where you get DRF TV stuff. And of course, for the latest news and information from America's Turf Authority Daily Racing Form, follow on Twitter at DRF Inside Post. That's it for this week. Best of luck when your horses break out of the gate.